again.
And it's the birthday of the biggest opposition NDC. Malik, who do we have in the studio?
A special guest of honor, the general himself, General Mosquito, the general secretary of the NDC. I was tempted to say the governing NDC because we had been saying the governing NDC for a long time. Mr. Johnson, Asiedu, Nketia, welcome to the pause.
And let me say happy birthday to you.
Of course. Yes,
okay,
yes.
so how would you describe the NDC after 25 years?
Well, I think that I would say that NDC has grown to become arguably the largest political party in Ghana. We have been the most successful in terms of elections, and I would also maintain that the most successful in terms of impacting on Ghana, in terms of Ghana's economy, infrastructure, and all other things. So we are proud that we are 25 years, one of the youngest parties in Ghana, and yet one of the most successful parties in Ghana.
And one would say you are the most successful general secretary of the NDC.
Well, that is the verdict you have to pass. I cannot confirm that.
Well, of course, I mean, you became general secretary in 2006,
sure.
Exactly,
and then you brought the party from opposition into government.
Yes.
And some would say you also supervised the party. It's a very curious arrangements here, that you brought the party into government and then still under your leadership the party went back into opposition. Yeah. What went wrong?
Oh, in terms of the elections,
yes,
parties are supposed to win elections at some times, and whatever you do, right or wrongly, you would have to go into opposition because it is part of the logic of multi-party democracy. Having said that, I would want to also say that if we knew what was wrong, we wouldn't be fielding a committee to look for what was wrong and advise. So I choose to reserve my comments on what went wrong. I have already spoken extensively to the committee about my views. Hopefully, we may be receiving the report tomorrow. And from that point on, the conversation about what went wrong and how to move forward can then begin.
Okay, but is it your view that something went wrong?
Why? If you have a target and you fail to reach that target, certainly something may have gone wrong. Either you were too optimistic about that target, or you could have set a lower target or something. So once you could not achieve your objective, then certainly you must find reasons why you could not achieve that objective. It may as well be that your expectations were too high. It may also mean that your expectations were right, but your strategy was wrong or somehow. So that's why we are listening to everybody. I appreciate the comments of everybody who has had to comment on this matter, because that is the beauty of democracy. My problem has always been that one NDC member's comment is taken to represent, you know, the views of the party. That is totally unfair.
Except
we
that is
need
because
to look
the
at
people who are making those comments are no mean persons. They are persons of a certain standing in the party. Maybe the reason why that is the case.
When you are voting NDC, everybody has one vote, whether you are founder or messenger. And if you are voting in any democracy, everybody has one vote. So in decision making, everybody is entitled to his view. And because we need to get the collective view, that is why we always put in structures that will moderate the decision making process. So it will be wrong for anybody in a democracy to want to take the views of one individual to represent what has happened in the party. Otherwise, it will cease to be a democracy.
Yeah, because the party tends to have leaderships. What you say certainly carries more weight than the boy from my village who is also a strong NDC would say.
A card.
But couldn't I have said what was wrong with the party without going to field a committee to go and listen to the foot soldiers? It tells you that one man's view cannot be taken to represent the views of the whole party. It may happen that his views are correct. If that is so, the views of the majority will confirm that one.
Many well-wishers are worried about the seeming divisiveness in the party. Are you worried too as a general secretary?
No. I don't think that there is any seeming divisiveness that is worth talking about. That is why, if you listen to me at the function, I never mentioned anything about division, unity, and all those things. I think that some of those commentaries may be misplaced, and that is my view.
Okay, because it may seem that you are alone on this, because when we heard some of your party leaders speak, many of them spoke about unity, which then means that there must be something for which reason they are calling for unity. Of course, I mean, we heard you took a different position.
Yeah.
I think that let's hear what some of the party leaders said. Then we can contextualize this conversation.
We didn't have to. We didn't have to mess up. But I think we easily get spoiled. Power corrupts us too quickly, too easily. While we were in power, NPP was doing door-to-door, we're seriously campaigning on the ground. We need to re-examine ourselves. We need some serious education, not just propaganda stuff.
Yeah, welcome back. So we still have the General Secretary of the NDC in the studio. General, you heard the founder of the party talk about, whilst your opponents were campaigning, you were, for want of a better expression, engaged in propaganda. Do you agree with him?
But I thought we were talking about unity. He'd never mentioned that MPP won because of some unity which was lacking in our party.
There are other leaders who will play that.
But the point I want to establish is that everybody is entitled to their views. That is why we are running a democracy. I don't hold the view that the NDC is terribly divided and that was the cause of our defeat. I don't hold that view at all. But you see, multi-party democracy is essentially a divisive game. Otherwise, we will come together and say that, well, let's maintain our revolution, and that when one person speaks, that represents everybody. We took a decision as a country to depart from that one so that everybody can be heard. Everybody's opinion can be heard. And we allowed all people who hold a certain view to come together to form a political party. It doesn't mean that within that political party you will still have homogeneity. The strength of each political party is debate, rigorous debate.
Absolutely.
So people must differ in their opinions. People must differ. So the problem that I guess the reason why people are talking about unity is about uniting around the subject matter that is on the table now, and that is causes of our defeat and how we move forward. It cannot be about the unity of the party as a whole, because it is never going to be possible to have any political party made solely of people who believe in the same thing, they do everything
and think commonly alike.
In that case, the party will die.
I guess
because there will be no debate.
General, I guess
the
debate
is the spirit of the party.
I guess the reason this is essential is that I heard you in the run-up to the 2016 election when you admonished party leaders that the fact that the NDC lost 10 seats in the northern region in the 2012 election was unacceptable, and that it was because after the primaries the party was unable to close its ranks, and you challenged them that they should take back those seats. Those seats should revert to where they belong. Those were the words you used. Those seats should go back home. That didn't quite happen. And when that didn't happen, the leaders of the party, and I hosted Inus Afuseni here, he pointed out that after the primaries that led you into the 2016 election, the same problems that bedeviled you in 2012 occurred, because the party was unable to unite behind the persons who were elected as parliamentary candidates. That's why you lost those seats.
You see, the problem I have with that type of argument is talking about a specific issue over which he thinks we should unite. It's not about the whole party uniting or disuniting, you see. So the argument at any point in time would have to be around a particular issue. So Inusa was talking about the need to unite and solve a particular problem.
Your views.
Yes, a particular problem at a particular point in time. It is different from somebody saying that NDC is disunited and that is the reason why we lost elections. So there is a need for us now to try and find out the reasons for disunity and go. Some people are suggesting that go around looking for people to apologize to and so on with the hope of bringing the party together. That will be a wild goose chase because parties are not supposed to be, what do you call it, uniform in our thinking. Party members, it is military that is a conformist society. But political parties, they thrive on some minimum conflict. They thrive on disagreements. It is disagreements that generate debate. And as somebody has put it, sparks of truth emanate from clashes of opinion. So if you have a political party and there is no rigorous debate, consider that party as dead. If you have a democracy and there is no rigorous debate, such that anything that happens, we have to go and listen to one person and his views will be taken to represent the whole party, then consider that party as a party that cannot win elections in our current dispensation.
For instance, I've heard the founder of the party complaining about disrespect for leadership. And indeed, he described some of the young people as babies with sharp teeth. And indeed, at your anniversary, I've heard the leaders calling for the young people to hold on tight to the leadership of the party. And having this background of babies with sharp teeth, how do you intend to champion this cause?
You see, there is one thing, disagreeing with your leader when you are on the side of the law. That one, if I am accused of disrespect, I will accept it. Because I want to be on the side of the law. And my training as a cadre also tells me to do that. And I'm happy to say that my boss was Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. He introduced this idea. Before the revolution, it was sufficient defense to argue when you are accused of doing something, to argue that, oh, I was following instructions from my bosses. It was at the advent of the revolution that taught us that if your boss gives you some instruction, you yourself, you have a capacity of assessing that instruction. If you consider it to be not in the interest of the organization,
positive defiance,
or against national interest, you have to defy, don't comply. Because if you comply and the matter comes out subsequently, you will equally be accused. You cannot use instruction from the boss as the basis for doing wrong things. So I have always stood for one, internal democracy for the party. So because of my stand on internal democracy of the party, I've had to step on several toes. Okay? There are occasions where Professor Mills disagreed with me, and I stood my grounds and won. There were occasions where President Rawlings disagreed with me. I stood my grounds and won and made sure that my position, or the correct position of the party's constitution, prevails. And yet there are still occasions where President Mahama also disagreed with me on issues. And I stood firmly on the side of the party and the party's constitution. I want to be, I have always wanted to run an administration where everybody will consider the constitution of the party supreme. So anybody who suggests something that goes against the party constitution, I resist it with all my might. And if that is considered as disrespect, then it will continue. But Because I believe that, look, in our debate, some people were talking about the good old days of NDC and so on. I count the fact that the NDC has been able to democratize decision-making internally as one of our achievements. So if anybody thinks that going back to the system, the early days of the party where decision-taking was not democratic enough, and that represented respect of leadership, then I disagree with anybody who thinks that represents that represents good old days.
All right. I think the conversation is getting okay. So we'll take a break. This is the Pulse, and we're still in the studio with the General Secretary of the NDC. He's telling us more about what we did not know about the party. Now, I think we should listen to more of the calls by the party's leadership for unity, and then we can have a very good perspective to this discussion.
As I speak, if you go to the civil or local government service or any government entity, you hear that these were NDC men, these are MPP men. Let this group go home. That is political discrimination. We demand an end to it. The fact that you have inherited a political system that you yourself admit has the coexistence of NDC MPP means that it existed before you got there. So if you cannot do anything, maintain the status quo.
Hello, I do what I did here. Calling Beneto no, what I kiame. Ejake, not the water 2020, about with the election. Hello, me ballet. And this year, no, to banana kahewale, can come fable bewote. No, can come fable, if I point a branch, call your BNA, no, oya branch meeting. Look, I fit here, make pagify. Mo fẹ́ mo kọ́ ṣí bí ẹni nye bọ́ branch meeting sẹ́ ya lókọ́ ẹ̀ wà láì áwọ̀ mi bọ́n náà fẹ́ ní òṣìkì ní o bá fọ yẹ branch ẹ̀ bọ́n ó gbé bá fìtà yìí.
So that was Kofi Pothofi, chairman of the party, calling for unity in the party. He spoke Ga, and in essence what he said was that the party needs to put their heads together and be able to attain victory. And General Secretary in the studio has been telling me that he doesn't believe that there's this unity in the party, but everybody else seems to believe there's a problem with the party. So
they are calling for unity of purpose around this defeat and move forward. So I'm saying that you can be calling for people to unite around a certain viewpoint and make a move. That's okay. But to be saying that the party is so disunited, so the party must concentrate effort to go and beg people and please people to make sure there is something called unity so we can move forward. If that unity is, we are going to create an organization of conformists, then that in itself will hurt the party.
Of course.
Because parties don't behave like that.
Of course, you traditionally are radical. When former President Rawlings says that, well, it sounds nice to talk about unity, but the cause for unity must be anchored on a number of things. And he says truthfulness, integrity, credibility. Do you share the view that there's a certain credibility deficit or integrity crisis in the leadership of the party? I
still maintain that these are opinions. Credibility according to whose standards? Whose standards of credibility are you talking about? Integrity by whose standards? What somebody, a conduct that could be described as constituting integrity by one person cannot be the same in the case of another person. So in using these words, we must all agree on what they mean. You understand? So that is why I don't go into those things. I want to think that organization decides everything. If we have gone into elections and we have lost, it means either there was a problem with our strategy, there was a problem somewhere that we need to look at and push forward. When President Rawlings was talking about MPP, did he say that MPP won because of unity? He never mentioned that thing. He said that MPP, whilst we were going around talking, MPP was doing house to house. And they were disunited, weren't they?
But I remember before the
elections. The point is not about, you don't have to be friends to be able to belong to one party and to be able to work
and pursue an agenda.
Pursue an agenda. Because everybody must come along with his or her opinions. And then when there is a debate or a conversation, your opinions will carry the day at one point in time. Another person's opinion will carry the day at another point in time. So your ability to accept that your views cannot be the views that will always carry the day.
But your views must meet at a certain point.
That's what I'm saying. You see, the contrivance for knowing what the party stands for is elections, taking decision by election. So that is why in a democracy, when you go, when you are running a political party, you discuss something, you first try to find consensus. If consensus is not achieved, you vote. The view that prevails in the voting is taken to be the views representing the organization.
And the view that obtains is that the selection and the widening of your party electoral college that eventually heralded you into the 2016 election was one of the reasons you lost, because that was badly managed.
That is somebody's view. So let the report come. Let us look at it. Where did it come from, and how are we going to solve it? So what I'm trying to take you out of that opinion, you keep going. The thing you must understand is that
the system served the party well.
And I'm saying that the report is going to be received tomorrow. And the collectivity of the opinions will tell us what went wrong and then what contributed in what measure to the victory or the defeat. You understand? So in taking individuals' views out of 10 and be debating whether it is true or it's not true is not the way to go. The way to go is for us to look at what the findings were, that because as I sit here, you know, there are people who think that I caused the defeat. There are others who think that our founder, President Rawlings, caused the defeat. There are others who think that President Mahama caused the defeat. So whose views are you going to take? That is why there is always a means of knowing what the party stands for. And it is going to continue. NDC is not going to depart from this democratic way of selecting leadership and taking decisions.
And again, that's
it doesn't have to do with Asiedu Nketia as a general secretary, or Kofi Potofi or Dr. Potofi as a national chairman, or President Mahama as a flag bearer or not a flag bearer, and so on. That is not it. We have come to a situation where it is not possible for anybody to run a political party on lines that are not democratic, whether that constitutes respect or disrespect.
Are there some who are seeking to do that?
No, but the whole conversation we are talking about has to do with whether there is respect for leaders or disrespect for leaders. And I have said that some of the accusation may be around me, those that I hear, that my insistence on the party's constitution and the democratic way of running the party has led me to step on the toes of big people.
Have you stepped on Mr. Rawlings?
I have disagreed with him on issues, and I have such as selection of candidates and many other things, and I have stuck to the party's constitution. I have disagreed with President Mills, and I have stuck to the party's constitution. I have disagreed with President Mahama, and I have stuck to the party's constitution because, look, everybody, when any of the three presidents, when they were elected as flag bearers, they swore by our party's constitution that is supreme. When I was elected as a general secretary, I swore by the party's constitution. So if a matter comes up and I say that, look, this is the party, this is what our boss, that is the party's constitution, says. So I will not depart from it. I will insist that we go by
I'm
it.
particularly
If that constitutes disrespect. And I'm happy that all the three big men has at one point in time or the other found me to be very difficult. But fortunately, I have never had any case filed in any court in Ghana calling into question decisions that we have taken, and I have lost that case.
Well,
it tells you that what we insist on is actually what the Constitution stands for.
But I'm interested.
And if we are not, we don't want to follow the Constitution, the thing to do is not to press me to disrespect the Constitution. The thing to do is to go and change the Constitution. If you bring me the new Constitution, I'll work according to it.
So I'm particularly interested in you holding tight to the party's Constitution. Sure. Are you then suggesting that ex-President Rawlings wasn't following the party's Constitution?
No, I'm not saying that in generality, but there were certain activities decisions that had to be taken. And the position he espoused.
And decisions
decisions
about the selection of candidates, for instance.
Okay, what did he want? What was his proposal?
No, I don't think that we have to go into those things. But I'm saying that I have had occasion where maybe he has suggested that a particular person should be made a candidate in a particular area.
And you find that to contradict the position of the Constitution?
And I have said that the Constitution provides that the people there should go and vote. Whoever emerges is the choice.
Who did he want?
That. I have had the same occasion to disagree with President Mills when he also suggested that for certain considerations, certain persons, that constituency too, I don't want to mention it, must be the candidate. I disagreed. And several big men came to see me to try to convince me about the prudence of that decision. And I said that, look, I am to follow the law. So if you don't want us to go this way, go and change the law first. Because I'm not going to breach the law for my judgment to be called into question. So everybody has sworn to go by the party's constitution. And there are occasions where President Mahama has also tried to urge me to take decision in a certain way. And I draw his attention to the fact that, look, this is what the party's constitution, the position of the party's laws are. So I cannot depart from that position. So in that respect, I have stepped on the toes of almost all our leaders. And I'm happy that now everybody has come to accept that. If it has to do with what the law says, I'm prepared to do it. And it's not about them alone. Chiefs and big opinion leaders in several parts of the country who have tried to convince me to, bend the party's law, they have all failed.
How does it come across to you that the founder finds you to only abide by the Constitution in parts that only suit you and rather diverting from the party's values?
Well, I'm saying that, you see, they are also subjected to some pressures, as all of us are subjected to. So if your leader is subjected to some pressures and he cannot defy those pressures and he tries to get you to do something that is against the law or against the Constitution, you will be helping him in insisting that the law should prevail. Yes. You understand? So if you also bend and yield to the wrong thing being done, and later the accusation goes to him that it is because of him that this thing which should have gone this way according to the party's laws went this way because of his intervention, you are hurting him, you are not helping him. He may feel displeased at the point that you are insisting the right thing be done, but from hindsight, he will come to accept that indeed your principal position has helped him. And so those who thought that my insistence of party's position, which at times have created little problems, will constitute a major problem between me and the founder, or between me and Professor Mills, and between me. They always get disappointed when they see that we are working together.
What's your relationship with Mr. Rawlings now? I asked this question having regards for last year. You made comments to the effect that he was too old that the party didn't find it prudent to involve him.
You are reminding me about the way you offended me. Because it was right, it was exactly here that I spoke about that.
Yes,
exactly. I know what I said. Well, the context with which the thing was reported was completely different from the context within which I said it. Okay. You were asking, I told you that, we have composed certain campaign teams, and that I'll be leading one, President Mahama will be leading one, and other people will be leading one. And you found out that there is no team composed for the founder to lead. Okay. And you were asking me why we did not compose a team for the founder. And I first asked the rhetorical question whether...
Absolutely, and I remember that if he was our father, whether the host...
I first even referred to President Kufuor. I said that, do you see President Kufuor leading a campaign team? Or if President Rawlings was your founder at this age, having toiled throughout the revolution, groomed all of us who are capable of carrying on the campaign, you will expect that he will still be going and be doing the dirty work in the trenches like we, the young men. You understand? Then it was taken that, Asiedu Nketia says Rawlings is too old to
Would you constitute a team for him in the 2020 elections?
I don't think that if at where we are now, if you still require that the founder having groomed us over a 30-year period or so would have to be going around to do the work that he has trained us to do, then we have all failed. That is the point I've always been talking about. So we are expected to be able to discharge our responsibilities according to our training. And so where we require to showcase our leadership, then like this anniversary, we brought him to cut tape and so on. Those are the roles of the Council of Elders and other things. But having groomed all of us, if at this stage we still would need him to go and be going from village to campaign, do you think that after his death, this party will not collapse? And it is not going to be in his interest if the party collapses after his demise. So we need to be able to do the work and let the results come. If there are problems anywhere, we can all sit his opinion and other opinions and see where we went wrong and so on. But it is still out of place now to be expecting that people like President Kufuor, people like President Rawlings, people like President Atamils, if he were to be alive, will be the people who would now be going around mounting campaign platforms from village to village to campaign. It means that all the work he had done in getting us groomed would have been in vain. And it will tell you that the party then cannot survive him after he dies.
I wanted to know what your relationship with Mr. Rawlings is.
I said I don't have any problem with him.
No, my question
how
is
would you describe that relationship?
What's your relationship
with
him?
Is it a fluid relationship?
No, you see, my nature is that I don't worship big men. So I don't...
Does he want to be worshipped?
No. You haven't said that. You're asking my relationship. If you want to ask his relationship with me, I think that I would have been the wrong person to ask. Okay. So I'm saying that is my nature. For the whole time that President Mills was in power, I went to his house only 2 times. For the whole period that he was in power, I went to his house only 2 times. And yet we worked together. I have not been going to President Rawlings' house, and yet we work together. I have not been frequenting President Mahama's house. Indeed, after our defeat, I have not gone to where he has relocated yet, and we are still working together. So if the measure of the relationship has to do with somebody getting to his house every morning and say good morning and so on, then that is not happening. But we work together as far as the party, organizations, decisions, and other things are concerned. We work together.
You just
and I still want to maintain that type of relationship.
And you just mentioned President John Mahama and the defeat. Was the NDC that went into the 2016 election, if it were a horse, was it a lame one?
You are still coming back to the same question in a different form. I have told you that the reason why we lost is the subject matter of the committee that we put in place, and we are receiving the report maybe tomorrow. After that one, we can talk about horses and lameness and jockeys.
I remember before the 2016 elections, ex-President Rawlings warned the party not to take your biggest opposition, the NPP, for granted. And a lot of people are saying that because you defied that caution that he gave you, that could be reasons why the party lost.
Let's get back to the same answer. I don't have any different answer for you. I'm saying that you are all talking about reasons why the party lost. And I'm saying that the reasons will be known in the report.
But did you do something about it?
Getting me to speak about one reason or the other why we lost will be premature until we look at the report.
But did you underestimate the NPP?
I didn't. For me, no.
As a party?
But we will get to know whether it appears in the report that we underestimated MPP, and that is the reason why.
Let's talk about the party structures and leadership.
Yeah.
When we listened to some of your party leaders at the 25th anniversary program,
yes,
Hudiaya spoke about mentorship of the party, and then Alban Bagbin spoke about apprenticeship as well.
Yeah.
Do you share the view that under Presidents Mills and Mahama, the young people were lifted over and above their weight to the extent that they lost humility to allow themselves to be mentored?
Listen, my brother, I think that these things ought to be examined and debated. My disappointment with the debate that went on at the party headquarters was that there was not enough time for us to engage. It was just lectures we listened to, We should have had, upon hindsight, we should have planned the thing in such a way that issues will be raised and then those issues will be debated. And at the end of the day, we will find which position is correct and then how we need to make progress. See, I've had a chance to comment on my difficulty about this whole issue of old faces, because the same people who were talking about, who were accusing President Mills, for instance, for appointing young men, they were the same people who were saying that the old faces, there are old faces which Ghanaians don't want to see. They must clear all of them to bring new faces. And yet, it was the same when the new faces were brought. It was the same people who now turn around to describe the new faces as Team B. You understand?
Yeah.
So I have had occasion in party meetings to find out where do we stand about these old faces and new faces and Team A's and Team B's. Is it the case that we should make move with the former ministers under President Rawlings to lead the way, whilst the younger ones will follow and be mentored? Is that what we want to achieve? If that is what we want to achieve, then we should stop talking about old faces. On the other hand, if that is not what we want, and we want new faces, then when the new faces are brought, we shouldn't now turn around to be saying that we have experienced people whom we have dumped for babies with sharp teeth. So we need to get these things right. So there are a lot of things which people say which turns out to be contradictory. And it puts those of you in leadership position or decision-making positions in some country. Let me tell you one of those. After this election, some people just got up and said that, oh, we need early Congress. Early Congress. Early Congress. We came out to respond that, yes, you don't need to call for early Congress because our Constitution provides for early Congress anytime we are defeated. And they say, oh, that is not what we are talking about. The constitutional one will be too late. Let's put the Constitution aside and do early Congress. And I said that, but those who are saying these things are supposed to be lawyers. So if lawyers are calling on us to put the law aside and do something, what is going to guide that something? Understand? But if you are saying it on political platform, there's nobody there to ask.
So what exactly
but
does
when
the
you
party want?
call me to now go and find ways of implementing early Congress, and you say that we shouldn't take the early Congress provided for by the Constitution, but something else which is called early Congress, then what laws are we going to use, or what is going to guide that early Congress? So those are some of the contradictions. Another contradiction may be found in this whole issue about monkey they chop, baboon they work, baboon they chop, and so on. I know that before the revolution, the middle class in this country was very small. Because of the economic reconstruction that we did, it allowed for opportunities to be created for people to go into business and make money. They constitute the middle class now. Unfortunately, during those days, it was found to be a crime if an NDC person is seen taking advantage equally like any other person of the economic opportunities. We were glorifying, if you like, poverty. Okay, and so it was sufficient that we create the opportunities and then pride ourselves that we have created these opportunities, we have done this, we have done this. 20 years or 30 years down the line, what has it produced? What it has produced is that the middle class has expanded now. The rural population which we're relying on, because of urbanization, it is shrinking. So no party can win election now based on strategies tailored towards the rural population alone. Now the middle class, we have allowed MPP to capture it. The result is that when MPP food soldiers need support, the petty bourgeois in the middle class will not have to refer to any head office. They can, in their way and in their various constituencies, help solve some petty problems and even groom others to go into business. Okay. We have a situation where we have allowed the middle class to be appropriated by MPP. We are not strong there. In the big businesses, we are not there.
That's a very serious concession.
Yes, I'm telling you. But that is the reality now. So you go down there, and then our party people have been relegated into poverty, our food soldiers and so on, and they are not petty bourgeois there who can support our party people on their own without any reference to office. So whenever we are in power, anybody who gets appointed, party people now think that it is their right to be taken care of by that person.
But who would you blame for the situation?
Whether that taking care of can be accommodated within his salary or not, there is that demand there. So the appointee is now faced with, put in quandary. Do I go and do things that are not completely correct in order to satisfy party people, and so I'll be hailed that I'm a person who has been supporting party? Or do I stick to the law and do whatever is within my means with my salary and other things to risk being told that I am a baboon when some monkeys are chopping? You understand? So, and the thing is that I support that. Stick to your principles, do your work. Don't try to steal government money go and share to so-called party food soldiers, who will be the first to jubilate when you are caught for corruption?
Who
you
would
understand?
you blame for this situation in the party?
I am saying that some of the principles or ideals we try to implement, perhaps our methods of getting those ideals implemented were wrong. Because it is possible to earn honest money in the system if the business opportunities are created and other people are taking advantage of the opportunities. There is no reason why NDC people should sit there trying to, stick to some ideals that if I'm seen to be rich, then it means that I am among the people without integrity and so on. So we have to get a way of discussing these things and to be able to see the way forward. There were times, I'm sure when we were kids, we as kids, when we were talking about one man, one toilet, we were not talking about glorifying poverty. We were talking about distributive justice. Because at that time, how many toilets were available in the country? So if you are saying that one man should get one toilet, we are talking about distributive justice. It doesn't mean that some years down the line, if it is possible that within the system, one person can get 3 toilets, we should sit there and say that our principle in 92 also is one man, one toilet, so we should stick to it. You remember the jacuzzi case? When our first lady at that time was found to be using jacuzzi in her bedroom, in her bathroom, it became an issue that if the first lady is using jacuzzi, it means they are chopping, quote unquote, our money. Why is jacuzzi? So jacuzzi became the conversation in this country for close to 2 years. All rallies addressed were talking about jacuzzi. They have chopped our money. Now the first lady is using jacuzzi. Now if you go to villages like Sepa and other places, people are using jacuzzi baths and so on. Do you sit there and think and say that, well, our principle has been that we shouldn't use jacuzzi, so 20 years down the line, if you use jacuzzi, it's an offense.
General, do you agree in ex-President Rawlings' view that it was greed that led to the loss of the NDC in 2016? Indeed, he says that corruption got
if he had gone into
the level
details,
of
I have
insane
not seen
during the Mahama administration.
I have not seen that greed, but fortunately, there's another government in power. Maybe as we move along, we may be able to prove, because if somebody is taking a bribe, he doesn't advertise it. So sitting at the party office, I'm not in a position to know. So if at the end of the day, something is proven as, some people are proven as having been corrupt, it will vindicate what he's saying. If at the end of the day, nothing of that sort happens, then it means that he was wrong in his assertion.
General, you spoke about the opportunities that the NDC created that then allowed the expansion of the middle class.
Sure.
And you said this middle class has been allowed by the NDC to be captured by the MPP.
Yes.
What do you think the NDC has done that makes it unattractive to this middle class?
That's why I'm saying that these are the issues that we should place on board to discuss.
In your view, what do you think?
No, if I knew the solution, I would not raise the issue. I'm saying that these are the issues that you know that we created the laws that allowed for free media. Okay? Where are we now? When you take the two main parties, who has more influence in the media field? Which of the parties has entrepreneurs in the media field? So what happened and what went wrong? So these are the questions at this our 25th anniversary. We should sit down and discuss, devoid of insults. So we look at the real causes and see what we can correct. What is it that we can correct? Okay. If you are talking about we are talking about outreaches and so on. Outreaches were serving us so well during President Rawlings' era. It was a time we demobilized all the appointees in Accra, and then we all go and then reach out to the grassroots and so on. We sleeping in villages and so on and so forth. 20 or so years down the line, when the environment itself is changing, are we saying that outreaches is the way to go, and that it is an aspect of the good old days? I'm not saying yes or no, but if now people have access to social media where you can build systems where you can reach all your members sitting in Accra within a minute without spending money, and then the outreach of moving to meet people in their various villages. So if it served us well in those days, the question is the way we should go now, or we can apply a new and more efficient means of reaching out to our people, which is less cost effective, which is more cost effective. You see, those are issues that we should think about. In the past, nobody was paying dues in this party, and any attempt to demand the collection of dues and so on from party members, you hear the cry that, oh, we are a socialist party, we are a social democratic party, so if you are charging this thing, it's like the party is for sale, we won't agree, do this, do this, do this. Now, we don't have any control about the cost of organizing political activity in the country. So it is not going to happen that NDC alone, without paying dues, can find money to be doing what we should be doing, like outreaches and so on. If you are faced in that situation as the chief executive of the party, you are faced with certain options. If the masses are being encouraged not to pay dues, because by so doing it means that we are selling the party, fine. You either don't have money to undertake the type of activities that will grow the party, or else you must find the money from somewhere. Now, if the money is contributed by one person or a selected small group of individuals, is it the case that you can get somebody who will just dump his money into the party for activities to be undertaken where he cannot be a key decision maker? These are things that we have to talk about. So if we are talking about collective decision making, we must also talk about collective ownership of the party. That is political independence of the NDC. That is something that we have to put on the table and discuss.
Jana, those who say the NDC must go back to its principles.
Yes.
Are you of the view that they are advocating going back to the arguments about one man, one toilet?
I am saying that the principles, we must hold a conversation around what constitutes the principles.
I thought that was clear, probity and accountability.
What constitutes the principles as principles? And what constitutes the methods for achieving or implementing those principles? There are two different things. The principles can be the same, would be universally valid across time and space, but the methods of implementing them would have to vary according to the changes in the environment. But we seem to be massing both the principles and the methods of implementing them together, and it is creating confusion in the minds of followers. That is why I'm saying that we need this. Our anniversary should be an opportunity for us to engage and debate these things devoid of emotion, and try and chart a way forward for the party.
You talk about how each and everyone have their own way of doing things, and I said that you must meet at a certain point, and you said the party need to do things the way it wants to do it, not because an individual wants this, so the party would all rally around that person. And I ask, what exactly does the party want? Which course does the party want to chart?
The party is not a human being. It expresses its wishes and the way those wishes are carried out in its documentation. So if you are put there as a servant of the party and you want to discover the party's interests, look at the constitution of the party. Look at the constitution of Ghana, and you will find a way that is consistent with the laws and the party's constitution, and that will be what the party will be saying at the particular point in time.
General, do you have presidential ambitions?
Me?
Yes.
I haven't thought about that.
But a lot of people say
I was reminded about this over this weekend. You know, in
did I get you thinking?
No, I'm the general secretary now, so let me do my work as a general secretary for the time being. I don't combine two things. But it created some comic relief. The comment of our founder created some comic relief, and it enlivened the environment. So we take it.
I wish we would have it so that we can play it. If we have what the former president said about general's presidential ambitions, let's pick it. So that we can share.
But before they get that,
talk about my ambitions.
If you were a fine investment.
Before they get that, I mean, it really means to what he said. It's just one word, saying that you'll be a perfect candidate for the NDC. Have you thought about?
If I were fat and
so,
but the conditions are impossible to satisfy because I can't go back to God.
So you have given up. You have given up growing fat
and say increase the size of my tummy or increase my height. All these things. I have said that even though this is a comic relief, people have taken it so serious. But you see, we must always hold people responsible for what they have done as individuals, and don't blame people for the omissions and actions of another entity. If I'm blamed as having not done my work well, I'll take it. If I am, my judgment is questioned, as a leader is questioned, I'll take it. If my morals are wrong, such that somebody will say that we have seen he's a thief or he's this or he's that, all those things, you as a human being are responsible.
Fortunately, Mr. Rawlings didn't mention any of that.
Yes, and my size is the work of God. So I don't see why I should be held responsible for what God has done.
I think we should listen to Mr. Rawlings on this one.
So, but they didn't mention that. And so it's a compliment. I take it as a compliment. Okay, an endorsement of the way I have done my work.
Let's hear Mr. Rawlings.
John Mahama is not the only kicking man here. When General Mosquito Bayero, I want to know who's there, or who's there kicking So, time no draw. It's a pity no who nyefe. No who nyefe aga. They did not so busy upon also. Sana oya light autism from Manu.
But taking this out of the context of your personality and talking about what is inside you, it means that you'll be a better candidate for the party. And of course, if he says Ankaponkoni Bejane,
a better candidate as opposed to whom? And that is where I have my problem. You see,
I guess Aisha meant a strong candidate.
Some people can take this to mean that is comparing me with President Mahama. Some listeners can take it.
Is President Mahama contested?
Listen. Some people, he contested the last election. So that is what he's referring. Unless you call him and find out for him. So it can create some problem, even though it is meant to be comic.
Are you concerned?
Oh no, I'm not concerned because I don't think anybody would take this as an intention on my part to contest elections or not to contest elections and so on. I don't think so. But it was a good joke which all of us loved. But the what I can glean from it is that it is an endorsement of how I have done my work. And I have said that there are instances where I have defied his suggestions in pursuit of what our constitution requires.
You made that point.
And so I think.
Will you seek a fourth term?
No, again, if you look at my history, when I'm engaged in one mandate, I don't talk about the next mandate. Whether I'll go or not go, I don't talk about it because of my difficult position as a General Secretary. According to our Constitution, the role I'm supposed to play as a General Secretary in managing the elections from branches to national. It doesn't, anybody who wants to do his work well in that respect will know that if you declare your intention one way or the other, it tends to compromise your ability to do that work. So in all our elections that I have contested, I am always the last person to declare whether I'm going or not going. So that is why if I decide not to go, you know about it. I'll call you and tell you. If I'm to go, I'll call you.
You worked very closely with the former national organizer, Yabuati Njan. Do you miss him?
Oh, he's still with me. He's from my region, and we are living around the same place. So we work together. I take views from him. And indeed, he also engages with the current organizer, Kofi Adams, where he has difficulty. They share views about the way forward. So, but that is the logic of democracy.
How are you reforming?
Individuals will change and so on. You hear our song, revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Cadres may go, cadres may come, but the revolution has come to stay. So we will be changing, but we will stay on course.
But the idea of Keda is dead in the NDC, isn't it?
Why? It is not dead. If you see Kedarship as a group of certain persons at a particular time who were engaged in a particular undertaking, then of course you will say that, well, those who were strong during the revolution, who were trained by the revolution as cadres, of course their numbers are receding now. But even in that wise, it is not dead, because in the past, it was like when we were moving into political party formation, we took a decision as cadres that those whose faces appear to be too common, let's hide behind, be the kingmakers, and get other people to be leading the front in the various districts and so on, so that we can get a new image for the party that we are forming, which will enhance our ability to go to win elections. So there was a conscious effort to dissuade cadres from taking positions in the party. We came to a point, and so what happened was that when we were in power, we organized the parties, the cadres, as a separate constituency and recognized their rights to vote at every level of the party. So if it is constituency, after getting all the branch executives, you need some delegates from the cadre front and so on, 31st and all that. But we have now outgrown that thing. We came to another point and took a decision that, look, cadres should go and take and contest elections and occupy positions in the main front of the party, so that we will not be organizing the cadres as a separate something with different mandates and so on. So it is out of that people like Dr. Kwabranje, myself, Yao Jan, Kofi Potofi and all, so across the country, it is mostly the cadres that are in the forefront. So if we say that we should be voting within the party, and then we should go and organize from outside and also have other votes reserved to us, we will be contradicting the decision that we took.
General, so now, certainly.
And then the next challenge is how to get a system in place that will be grooming the young NDC people in the principles of the cadreship. And that's why you always hear me talking about party school, party school, party school, so that we catch them young in our universities, in the polytechnics, and so on. And then we will be instilling the party's principles in them. We will let them understand what social democracy means. Because social democracy has come to represent so many things. You will see that even at times, ministers in NDC government, some of them can be talking, and it is clear that they don't understand what social democracy is about.
Which is a party's
so we need to get a system of training. Elsewhere, before people within the party aspire to certain positions, there is some minimum training they have to go through, minimum orientation that they have to go through, so that because you won't get the time to always go and tell your MPs that this matter, when it comes, argue this way, when this other matter, when it comes, argue this way. But if before becoming MPs, they've gone through a certain training, and they know Social Democrats' position on education, Social Democrats' position on industry, Social Democrats' position on environmental protection, their position on health, their position on infrastructure, and so on. And the people are, and our position on taxation and other things, and the people are groomed in those principles. When they face any issue, they will now look at it. Is this an education issue? What does it imply? So how does it compare to the Social Democrats' position on education? And they will be able to construct the argument. And irrespective of the fact that one may be speaking in Tamale, the other may be speaking in Accra, you see that substantially the direction of the argument will be consistent.
General, certainly you don't have much time to garner yourself together to win election 2020. How are you reforming the party towards this agenda?
I don't know this your sense of timing in elections. You see, in political campaigns, 3 months is even long enough to change the outcome of elections.
Okay.
So we have time.
Okay.
In the 2012...
How do you intend to bring back this middle class you say the party has lost to the NDP?
It is something that we have to debate. And I'm not going to say this is going to be our strategy and so on, because a general going to war and announcing his strategy and the weapons he has already lost the war before he started.
Where is that your smoke, by the way?
It is there.
You wait only
I thought
during elections.
You'll be asking about my coat.
The borrowed one.
I'm keeping that one, so I'm hoping that when I retire, we will auction it. And
you'll make a lot of money.
I'll make a lot of money out of it.
The general view is that in the 2008-2012 elections, you had a superstar vice presidential candidate in John Mahama, then candidate in 2012, which kind of helped the party to win those elections. Do you share the view that the strength of the candidate plays a big part in the performance of the party in an election?
You're asking two things. If you're asking me whether the strength of a candidate plays a part in elections, I'll answer you. But if you're talking about what part the position of our candidate or his running mate played in the 2016 elections or 2012 elections, I won't answer you till I get what the Boucher report produces. But generally, yes, the strength of candidates, because the candidates constitute the product. Election is like marketing. Okay, so you market ideas that are found in your manifesto and other things, and you also market the messenger who is to implement those ideas. So there are two things that you do in elections. So it could happen that the ideas that you put together were different from the expectations of the electorates. That can lead you to elections whether you have the best candidate or not.
But the candidate certainly plays a role.
Yes, the candidates play a role. Why not? Because it is the candidates they vote for, essentially. But they vote for the candidate, one, who they believe that the program he's presenting is what they want to see implemented. And then they must get a candidate in whom they can trust to implement that program. Okay. So you can have a program in which people believe in, but they don't trust in the ability of your candidate to implement it. It can create discordance, which will lead you into electoral defeat. You can also have a very good candidate, but the people are not interested in the message he's selling. Okay, that can also create the discordance and create problems. So generally in elections, yes, the influence of the candidate. There are experts who will be able to put a percentage on the influence of a candidate in election. How much
is there a better expert than you?
He contributes. and then why? This is not the discussion for that.
Okay. So you're yet to go to
said that,
Congress.
Let me just clear this.
Okay.
So having said that, when you look at the persons who are preparing themselves to lead your party. Yeah. We know Alban Bagbin, we know Sylvester Mensah, we know Joshua Labi, we have heard
the Gabra,
we have heard Kobna Dufour. When you look at all of these men, and I note that there is no woman, when you look at all of these men, does it give you a certain confidence about the future prospects of the NDC?
But you haven't mentioned all the people you have heard.
So
you also just heard about me. You also just heard about me. You are not.
But, well, you said you still want to be general secretary. You said you still want to be general secretary. That's why I left you out.
Anyway, I haven't heard anybody saying they want to be presidential candidate for NDC yet.
You haven't heard?
No.
But you know.
I need to hear about it legally, according to our constitution. We have not.
Take it from me.
No.
If these guys.
There are things that you need to do that will indicate to the party that you want to contest elections. None of those things have
because
happened.
You haven't.
But if you were giving all these names lined up, which of them would you personally vie for?
Which referee will go into a game and say that this side will win? This side will win before he goes to supervise the match.
Personally, I mean.
And I'm saying that you cannot detach. You can't say. You heard me accusing this man before, my colleague Sir John, when he declared that Nanado is the man they are going for, whether he's in wheelchair and so on. That was why he lost the election. Really? Because you must be seen, if you are going to be the arbiter or the referee for the contest, you should not be talking about your favorites. If you talk about your favorites, you have disqualified yourself from being the referee. So I have never.
But the man who was endorsing had an overwhelming endorsement at the Congress.
12 years, I have never stated any position publicly in support of a presidential candidate until he gets elected by the party. And I'm not going to do that.
There are those who feel that, taking cue from what has happened in the past, going into the 2020 elections, you need to do certain things right. One, the ex-president Rawlings, anytime he speaks, seems pregnant with words. And people are like, does he want something from the party? And he's not having. You tell us, is there something he wants you're not giving him?
So that he will do what?
So that he will stop the boom speeches.
If, to be honest with you, if there is any Ghanaian now who thinks that there is something you have to do to President Rawlings to stop him from expressing his opinion, then that Ghanaian is living in some wonderland. President Rawlings will continue expressing his opinion on issues, whether we are in government or in opposition. It doesn't matter whom his opinion is directed at, so long as he feels strongly about something, he will say.
Is he implacable?
So it's not like he's looking for us to do him some favor so he can stop talking. He doesn't believe that stopping the talking will help NDC. At least that is what I can glean from his pronouncement. Because no, it's not what I believe in. Because I'm not the one doing the talking. He doesn't believe that stopping the talking will help NDC. So when he's talking, you can read from his mood that he believes, whether rightly or wrongly, is not the matter. But he believes that what he's doing is furthering the interests of the party. And that is his belief.
That's it.
I'm saying that that is his belief. So I have my own
What
belief.
do you make of his belief?
Oh, but I have told you from the beginning that the party cannot be made up of conformists. So you have people who hold certain positions that are different from yours.
Is he implacable?
Like, I don't understand. You know, I'm a Pawan Tapawa. I don't understand big English. So tell me what implacable is.
Is he difficult to please?
But I don't think anybody has set off to please President Rawlings as an objective. And I don't think that is the proper thing to do in a political party.
Why not?
Because if the political party is about looking for what individuals in the party want and going to do things to please them, then we will not have a constitution. Mm-hmm. So the constitution is our collective will. So I don't think that anybody should place before himself or the party as an objective to go and please individual members of the party. First of all, it won't work. Because in an attempt to please one person, you may offend another person. So in an attempt to please C, you may offend Z. So instead of going to look for what individuals want and working to please them, you go by what the collective wants, as expressed in the party's constitution and the other rules, and then stick to it, and everybody will come on board. Some may be offended at one point or the other, depending upon whether those decisions go for them or against them. But eventually, they will come to agree that everything is going according to the Constitution. They may also agree that the Constitution is wrong. When they change the Constitution and bring the new Constitution, they can give that new Constitution to whoever is a General Secretary to implement the new will of the party. Okay. So it's not, the way to go is not about leaving the Constitution there and going all out to find individuals to please.
General, it's been
talking
a
to
privilege talking to you, and we wish the NDC well in its endeavor. So you heard the general himself. He is the general, and he says that the party has a lot of time to prepare for election 2020. He says even 3 months to election is not lesser time. It's a lot of time to change the minds of people. We'll be looking forward to seeing the NDC putting all he said into action and then winning power in 2020. So that's it. That's how we drop the curtains on the polls. We told you it's going to be an NDC polls today, and you saw it, and I hope you enjoyed it. I did enjoy my almost 2 hours stay with you. I hope Malik did same.
Absolutely.
Too.
I mean, it's always fabulous to have him on the show. Beautiful. I enjoyed it.
All right. So once again, we wish the NDC a happy birthday, and you have a great evening.
Thank you.